buttons. They seem simple, they're anything but. I'm going to show you two ways to create buttons. We're going to create a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary button structure. One is more beginner friendly and one is more advanced friendly. So let's start on the beginner side with the primary button. A button usually consists of a background shape and text. I'm going to go ahead and start with the background shape. We're going to select our rectangle tool here at the bottom toolbar. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. I know I'm going to adjust this later, but for now, that works. Since this is the background for my button, I'm going to go ahead and select my primary action color and imagine that it's going to be black and then my text on top is going to be white. So I'm going to select my text tool now, click and drag. I'm going to adjust my settings, so make sure my typography works. I'm going to make it size 16, and then I'm going to adjust my fill to white. Now I'm going to type primary. I want to make sure that this is aligned to the center under the typography panel, which it is, so that's great. I'm going to just kind of manually crop my text box around my text here. And then I'm going to sort of adjust my button so that my text is centered and my padding around the edges looks good. So I'm just going to move things around. And then once I feel like that looks good, I'm going to highlight both and align center. So under position on the right hand side, I'm going to select align horizontal center, align vertically center, and there we go. We have our primary button. I can even highlight both of those together, right click and group selection. That way it stays together when I move it. Okay, so there's our primary button. To create our secondary button, I'm going to copy and paste this, move it down, and while a primary button is meant to be my main action that users would take coming onto my site, it should align with the most important content on my page. Your secondary button is your supporting action, and so it shouldn't be visually as bold. It should be scaled back to support the primary. One easy way to do that is to swap the colors around just slightly. So I'm going to go ahead and double click into my group, select my rectangle, and instead of it being a fill, I'm going to make it a stroke. So I'm going to do my stroke with my action color, which is black. I'm going to remove my fill, or I could even make my fill white. Then I'll select my text and make my text black. So if you were to translate that to other color combinations, if my background in my primary was navy blue, in my secondary, maybe my stroke is navy blue and my text is navy blue, but my background is white. So when you put your primary and your secondary next to each other, they don't feel like they're competing. I'm going to double click in here and rename this to secondary. Of course, I need to adjust my text box and my background. I also need to make sure that they are centered. There we go. All right, and then my tertiary button is oftentimes just a link. So I'm going to copy and paste this again, and maybe we're using our action color. In this case, that's black. I could always change it to a blue, especially since black is sort of standard text size. Another thing I could do is add an underline. So I'm going to highlight my text, go to my typography menu, and then find this like filter option, this type settings, and find underline under decoration. Okay. So there we go. We have our primary, secondary, and our tertiary actions. Something I could also do is make primary and secondary even in terms of width. So a lot of preferences here, but in general, again, we just have a background and a text box.